Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our commissioners. I'm calling our meeting to order, and let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States, the Republic, stand God, visible.
Thank you. Roll call.
Chair Quorum,
Here.
Vice Chair McNeil,
Here.
Commissioner Nygaard,
Here.
Commissioner Brott,
Here.
Commissioner Powell.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, good evening, Chair and Commissioners. I would like to pull item 7A, NVIH Design Review and CUP. We want to pull this item due to an issue with public noticing of the 300-foot letters, and we plan on bringing this back to the meeting in September once that's corrected.
Okay, 7A has been pulled for tonight. Anyone else comment? Okay, public comment and consent calendar forum. All items on the consent calendar are considered routine. I lost my place there. And may be approved with a single vote unless removed for separate discussions by the chair and commissioners. Individuals wishing to speak on consent items or matters not on the agenda are asked to complete a speaker card and submit it to the city clerk. All remarks shall be directed to the chair and commissioners and are limited to 3 minutes. By law, the commission cannot discuss or take action on items not listed on the posted agenda. So our only thing on the consent calendar is our minutes. Recommended action: approve the minutes of July 7, 2026 Planning Commission meeting and the July 29, 2026 Special Planning Commission meeting. Are there any questions about those meetings or any corrections or comments? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the July 7th to 2026 Planning Commission meeting.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, a motion has been made and seconded to approve item 5A, the approval of the minutes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Discussion and action calendar. All matters on the discussion and action calendar will be discussed and acted on individually. Individuals wishing to speak on these items are asked to complete a speaker card and submit it to the city clerk. Comments should be directed to the chair and commissioners and are limited to 3 minutes. By law, the commission cannot discuss or take action on items not listed on the posted agenda. 6A, Sparks by Hilton Hotel Design Review, file number DR 25-03, and conditional use permit, file number CUP 25-03. Extension of time, address is 457 North Humboldt. Recommended action: receive the staff report and attachments and consider approving an extension of time for the design review, file number DR 2503, and conditional use permit, file number CUP 25-03, and adopt the attached resolution, attachment 1. Does staff have anything they want to add to this?
I'll just make a brief comment before I pass it off to Amy Rossig with Harrison Associates. The applicant is very close to completing his plans. He expects by the end of August or early September to be done with them. But our Willows Municipal Code gives them a year to make substantial progress, and no plans have been submitted. So that's why this item's before you. With that, I'll pass it off to Amy for any additional information.
I don't really have too much more to add. Good evening, commissioners. This applicant was approved on August 5th, 2025. Their project will expire tomorrow, so they're requesting an extension of time, which is consistent with the code requirements. So I have nothing else further to add.
Okay, thank you. We just need a motion to approve this extension for 1 year. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So-
Motion to approve?
What?
I'll motion to approve.
Okay. You
I'll
make the motion.
second.
We've had.
Oh.
Hang on. We've had a motion made and a second. Now questions.
Thank you. Do we have to extend it for the whole year since they plan on being done by August? Can we shorten that timeline, or do we just do this because it's according to code?
Amy, you might have more information on that. I know the applicant is allowed to extend up to a year, and that was his request. I believe you could go shorter. Amy, do you have anything else on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, it's at the discretion of the commission. They could go shorter, but they are allowed up to a year per the code.
But they plan on being ready by August?
So, and the code speaks to substantial progress being made. So we would consider that if he was able to submit plans at this point, say he was able to get it in yesterday, we would say you've made substantial progress with the plan submission and keep it going. So we would view that as his next step, not necessarily completion of the project. So I think I give you a really long reasoning there. So yes, he asked for up to a year. We basically give him that year in case things happen, but it is the discretion of the planning commission.
Isn't a 1 year extension a pretty normal time frame?
It is. It's allowed up to. Sometimes we'll see this in grants on the city side of it, where if we're allowed a year, we'll take a year, even if we think we'll be done in 2 days. I don't think this applicant. I haven't seen a submitted plan, but he's very eager to get them submitted, and but he just needs another month or two to do that. Doesn't mean he'll take that whole time as well.
Well, it's a courtesy on our part, especially if they've already been in once, and this is an aid for the development to continue. So I don't have a problem. Any other questions?
Is there like any checks and balances to make sure you don't have a situation kind of like the mobile home? I assume that's probably why, because a year is kind of long. Like, is there a check-in at any point in time in a few months?
Yeah, so we've been trying to get a lot better at this, and so what we do is we're marking down when these would expire or running out of time to encourage the applicant. It's kind of like a building permit. Hey, you haven't got this finalized in a year. You're going to have to pay for a whole new one unless you extend it. So we mark down in a spreadsheet and track when these are due or when reviews are done. So we would, sometimes we come back and they say, I'm not doing it. I don't want to do anything, and then it just expires on its own. This applicant, we gave him the notice a month ago or so. Hey, you've got a month to go. And he came in and talked to us multiple times. Kind of had to wait and figure out because he was really close. And if he would have been able to do that, we wouldn't have done the extension, but we need to do it just because he couldn't meet that deadline by a month or so. So staff tries to send out the notice to the applicant ahead of it expiring to do what we're doing right now.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions? Are you ready for the vote? All those in favor, please, for the extension, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okey doke. Let's see. Zoning ordinance update Title 18. Receive the staff report and attachments, discuss, and upon conclusion, consider adopting the attached resolution, attachment 1, recommending City Council approve an ordinance, attachment 2, to adopt the amended Title 18, attachment 3. Staff.
Good evening again, Commissioner and Chair and Commissioners. Joe Betancourt. I'm just going to make this real short and sweet and then pass it off to Amy. I just want to thank you guys and the city council and liaisons for all the effort put into this. Look forward to doing a review tonight and being able to finalize this and pass it off to council for their review and recommendations. So with that, I'll pass it off to Amy.
All right. Good evening, Commissioners. Amy Rossig with Harrison Associates. So the intent of tonight's meeting is to follow up from when we met last Wednesday. Included in tonight's staff report is the final ordinance with its new formatting. As you all know, this has been a lot of work and due diligence from all of you. We wouldn't have been able to get to this point without all of your efforts. And so we're excited to bring this formal resolution before you this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. The intent of tonight is to kind of put a nice bow on everything and all of our work that we've all done together.
Now is the time for questions. Jesse, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Michael,
I do not.
Sherry?
No.
Oh my goodness, because I'm going to have lots. Robin?
Not at this moment.
Okay. I have a number of questions, and I have to apologize that these were not asked earlier. On page 6, on let's see, it'd be V at the top of the page. A staff referral, any project that the city manager determines due to its unique location or complexity requires discretionary review to protect public welfare. What if we do not have a city manager? It does not say designee. And if it did, who would appoint the designee?
See. Yeah, I can add in information to say for designee. Generally, that would be the planning director or someone in Joe's position.
And I think city council would adopt a formal resolution for that appointment of the designee, but that language does need to be or designee.
It would be at that time.
Correct,
Mhm.
correct.
Okay, but does it also need to say city manager or designee or and designee?
Or designee.
Yeah,
Okay, so that needs to be put in.
absolutely. Yep.
Sorry.
No, good catch.
Okay, on page 11, there are several places on number 1 up there, it says all applications for an administrative use permit shall be filed with the city manager and shall be on the form provided. Again, if we do not have a city manager, should it say and designee?
Yes.
It
Okay.
does say it.
Also, on that same page, you have under administrative action, it says the decision of the city manager or designee shall become effective. So that is correct because it does say designee. Are you with me still?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay, and on E, the city manager or designee is correct.
Mhm.
So we're good there. And then on page 12, under H, it talks about the extension is the title. The applicant or property owner may apply to the hearing officer for a 1-year extension of the administrative permit. Who is the hearing officer?
Mhm.
And if we don't have that
Yeah.
in definitions, then it needs to be struck and I think we wanted it replaced with city manager or designee throughout.
Yes,
Okay.
that would be,
Yeah.
that would be,
Okay. We can update that. I know that language specifically came from the current code, but we can modify that. So I think it's talking about administrative permits, which are generally at staff level and wouldn't have a hearing
Yeah.
body. Yep. So it can easily be updated.
Yeah, so Lori Pride, if you look back at the prior draft for that under the hearing officer had been struck and it was added to be city manager. At least under extensions, the applicant or property owner may apply to the hearing officer. That was struck in the draft at the last meeting and changed to city manager or designee. So it's almost like just the wrong change got taken out of that.
I think we don't have, we either never have had that hearing officer defined. And so we want to get rid of it or define it, but I don't think we have a definition of who that would be besides the city manager, unless it lives in another portion of the code. Yes, that could be.
Okay. On page 17,
Mhm.
under number 4, penalty provisions, it goes ABC, a fine exceeding $100 first violation, 200 for second violation, 500 for each additional violation. Is that a reasonable amount or should it be more? I don't know what an average amount people would have to pay for violations. What do they pay in other cities?
I think we did pull this from another jurisdiction. I don't remember off the top of my head. I remember I had pulled some information from state code and those fines were lower. And so we had increased it to these numbers.
Because my concern was, I personally think they're low because it's going to take staff time. So I don't know, Lori, what do you think on page 17 on the penalty provisions?
I'm just looking back from the notes that I had submitted before, and kind of the question I had was, what's a violation? So say, and I'm thinking of the food bank situation that we had. It was one specific instance of not being in compliance, but it took a very long time and several notices. So as a violation, one time something happens and that one-time violation can carry on for 6 months to a year, or is a violation like a notice? So you get a first notice and you have so much time, it's $100. But if we have to notice you again, so that was sort of the question I had framed in my comments, like, what do we mean by a violation?
Yeah, so you're saying the violation needs a time limit.
Well, kind of, because it seems like we notice people, but there's not always action taken. I think we can point at several examples of that. So is a violation one instance for a property, or is it every time the city has to give them a notice? And then I thought $100 seemed kind of low. Again, thinking of a couple of recent examples where what's going to motivate someone to do something different. And I would say that first notice might not be very much money, but as soon as we have to start spending more time on one instance, one property, but non-compliance, those were some of my questions that I had noted.
Okay. Thank you.
Similar.
Lori, Amy, what do you think?
But I'll hop in there real quick. So I
Yeah,
do
sure.
just see that it looks like state law does limit how high local government fines for zoning code infractions can be capped. And now that's a zoning code infraction, which could be different than a code enforcement violation, where we have a $500 a day set penalty, to where if the violation continues, we have the ability to fine them up to $500 a day. So for instance, if we're looking at something like, I'm going to use an example of 337 Lassen, that is a health and safety code violation for the building condition, we would be able to assess that $500 a day penalty against them. But it did look like there was caps on administrative zoning infractions, and then we get into the misdemeanor category, which again is never my forte on how those words are used, as the counselor planning commission being the
And I have
judiciary body on that.
a question then, Joe, because
Yep.
D says at the discretion of the city manager or designee, the cost of staff time spent on the violations may be charged in addition to fines imposed.
should that be defined a little bit more of how that's determined or?
It gives discretion, I guess, depending on how quickly it was resolved. The only way that I would see it going would be shall instead of may, because we do want to recoup our time and effort for the person violating the law. It's not fair for general taxpayers to pay for our time when it's the specific person.
Does
violating
state
it.
have a cap on how you can determine that and how
I-
much you can?
I would say that I think there's a cap if you charge a general administration fee. What we would do is charge our actual billable rate and time through a tracking system, which I think is fine to do. So I don't believe there is.
Thank you.
So,
I want to ask our commission if you, since several of you are new, if you understand the difference between may and shall.
May and shall? I feel like may is optional and shall is not.
Yes, correct. So you're saying instead of may, it should be shall?
well, I think my question, the reason I came back up, Joe, is you had mentioned, in the context of this is our, Title 18, and so it'd be violations under Title 18. So a violation could be an incorrect use in a zone. So it comes to our attention, someone started a business and it's not an allowed zone.
Correct.
It could be something to do with signs. It could be something to do with parking. So essentially anything in Title 18, a violation of anything in Title 18 is what we're talking about here.
Correct. And I guess my point being is that if we have the ability to go above and beyond that standard and we feel it's justified through a code enforcement violation, then we can take that. But as far as if it's, hey, you've opened up a business in the wrong zone.
Well, the reason I kind of came back up too is the food bank is a classic example of they were not in a correct zone.
Yep.
So that was a zoning violation, was a very foundational issue with that particular project. And it took a long time for them to move and a lot of work. There were ancillary issues and, it's just a good recent example. So again, when we talk about a violation, it could be something very simple, like someone didn't get a sign permit but sometimes the enforcement of that can take a long time. And if it's only $100 per violation.
Well, and the violation could be dependent upon somebody else's slowness to do some work
So
for the applicant. So
But couldn't you, when you notice people, couldn't you give them a time limit to respond and tell them that the fine will go up?
We usually always notify them. I mean, first offense, we like to do a voluntary compliance on every first offense we do. I haven't dealt with too many planning and zoning violations. Normally it's code enforcement, building code, those kinds of things. And I believe in our previous code, we did have language of up to $500 a day. I could be wrong on that. I think these were adjusted to reflect that state law that we're mandated to.
okay.
For the food bank, we did, I think it was $350 a day accrued fines unless they remedied it. So in that case, we said, hey, you've got this many days. We're going to pause it. You have 2 months to find a new place to go. But if it's $100 first violation, that's what it's going to be. So if the violation is noticed, it'll be that more simple $100 penalty.
In the working, can't you let them know that they have so long to take care of it or?
And I
it becomes
think we would
incentive?
consider what is reasonable on that. Yeah, yes, Commissioner Broad, I get what you're saying. In order to, I mean, we can spell out the timeline if not corrected in X amount of time, but then we're kind of trapped if certain things are going to take longer or shorter than those times. And so I am not a big advocate of having subjectivity, but in those circumstances, I think as long as it's defensible, it might be better to have a little bit of leniency in the timing of it.
Amy, do you have any comments on this area?
Yeah, regarding the time frame, we did have in subsection B about correcting it within 30 days. And then there's also an allowance for an extension if approved by the director.
Okay.
Um,
Lori.
Well, just my final thought, thinking of a zoning. So a business starts a business in a zone that's not allowed. So we give them a notice, it's a violation. I mean, what if they don't leave? I guess I always go back to what are the teeth? And it's not to be negative at all, but I mean, we have a zoning code for a reason. And if somebody goes in there and it's like, well, it's $100, and so they pay the $100, but they don't go anywhere. So now what do we do? Do we give them another notice and charge them another $100? I mean, to me, it's sort of that, what's that logical follow up?
Once they've been noticed, that's the first violation.
Well, that was kind of my question. And then if
But
they get noticed again,
How
is
long
that
before the second notice?
Well, that would be determined probably by the city manager.
well,
Or-
That be defined?
because otherwise it's a first violation. The violation was you're in the wrong zone. Well, it's the same. It's not a new violation. It's the same violation. So that was my question: is the lack of compliance? Is every time we have to tell them again, is that a new violation? It's the same thing. It's just they haven't complied with it yet. So that was just, I wanted, you know, when every time I've looked at that, I've just wanted to be able to say enforcement is key, right? So I opened a business downtown and it's not an allowed use. So I get a notice from the city, Lori, you know, you applied for your business license. You can't do this business in this zoning. So that's a notice. Maybe I don't get a violation on that first one, but I don't leave. I've got cheap rent and I'm going to stay where I'm at. Well, then I get another one. It's like, it's $100, Lori. You're not in the right zone. Okay. Here's
Yeah.
$100.
Amy?
Yep.
I'm sorry, Chair. I just have a quick question following up on that. Is so when they get their business license and they have to, Joe, tell you where they're having the business, correct? So do they notify you if they're moving that business? I mean, shouldn't that all be kind of a precursor to
But we
avoiding
don't-
the violations?
We don't always get a business license coming through as well. So yeah, we do a planning zone review.
Shouldn't that be an automatic revoke or something that they, you know,
I
a huge
think-
fine?
I think we have a certain level of education, you know, and that's where I'm really happy with what our Chamber of Commerce is doing now and getting more active, you know, because as soon as we know a business has started, I mean, and the city staff don't have time to be out there, but they might not know. I mean, a lot of people are like, I'm going to start a business. I'm all excited. They don't even know what they don't know.
True.
So I always think that first layer should be educational, like, oh, you know, are you aware that, you know, we require a business license and there's such a thing as Title 18 and all the things. So people don't know what they don't know is what I always say. So it's kind of like, how do we have teeth to enforce it when we have a problem? But I think backing up from that, it's like, how do we make sure we're out proactively educating people as well? And I think we see situations where people have already maybe invested and put a business in a building and then they can't be there. And that's
Yeah.
where I don't want the city to be coming in and be the negative one after the fact, right? So
And I think that's
balancing
what
it.
you're saying, along with what Joe is saying, is the education part that you're in violation and this is why, and they need to rectify it. And once they don't, then there needs to be a different level.
Probably
yeah.
something like
An illustration of this would be a home business where the person didn't get a CUP to have that home business. So anyway, okay,
Well, and I think something that, I mean, we've got, I think, maximum fines established. I'm kind of trying to check it out as we go and I don't have a clear answer on it. But can we, are these allowed to be, especially if we reach that $500 limit per day violations? And if we can do that, then we can charge them per day and then we can make them pay by putting it on their tax roll once it accumulates to such a point. So that would be the teeth of the mechanism. Now, if it's the property owner and a lease, so it's the property owner that we talk to about these things too. So we work with the business and the property owner. But at the end of the day, that building owner, it's their responsibility to evict if somebody's leasing a building improperly. So if we can look at that, Amy, and see if this is
Yeah.
can be daily violations and then still like,
Right.
Yes, yeah, I think some more language needs to be added in regarding incorporating maybe a violation per day.
per day
and then
fine on that.
Also, yeah, and incorporating some information about putting it on their tax roll too. I think that would be important to add.
Because we placed it in the past and, you know, like I used the food bank, it was, you know, we've accrued fines, but the teeth was, hey, we're willing to not charge all of this if you can get this done within, and that reasonable time working with them was, you know, 2 months. And then we kind of go from that point. So they did accomplish that and we were able to say, hey, appreciate you working with us. We're now dropping the fines. But if they hadn't had and not any good reason that felt justifiable to extend that, then those fines would have been assessed. And again, those letters were sent to their landlord, but we work with the leasee as they were responsive to us. So the teeth becomes, I think, being able to accrue a heavy enough financial penalty to where either the owner of the building is going to listen up, or it's going to go on their property tax, or they're going to deal with their leasee in an appropriate manner.
Okay,
Hopefully.
are we satisfied with what they're going to do?
My only question, I think what Lori was speaking to a little, like
Mhm.
what constitutes a second violation? Would it be lawful to even say if you fail in the 30 days to correct the first violation, that failure becomes a second violation to up it to the $200 threshold? And so on?
That's what
I agree
That's-
there
I
should
think
be a
that's what-
timeline on it. And Lori has asked that question.
Would it just constitute a second violation if they failed to correct?
I would like it to be defined so there's not subjectivity
Right.
with it.
Right.
A month, and then at that
Right.
last month, we're accruing dailies at 500 would be my.
I think we're agreeing
Okay.
with you.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you for all of your comments. Page 34. Under D. This is on commercial uses. And the reason I bring this up is I have a very good illustration that's happened because you have the minimum yard requirements on the front, none. Over on Humboldt, we have a Taco Bell, a Burger King, what else comes next? A motel and a little mini mall. Those three restaurant businesses would be against the sidewalk, but for whatever reason, they built back, so they have a front yard. And if we were ever to widen that street, which should be soon, I hope, if there is no front yard, we will not be able to widen the street. So is there some way to write this? So I don't want to pick them out per se, because they volunteered to do that and they've all consistently kept doing it. But there's nothing to stop anyone from building right up to the sidewalk. That makes sense to you?
A little bit. Yeah, so we pulled that from the current code with the 0-foot setback. But if you want to change it, we can. It sounds like maybe changing it to something that matches the existing development pattern. I would have to check and see what that is, if that's 10 feet or 12 feet. Is that what you're interested in doing, is changing that?
What was the question?
Are you interested in changing the setback along those?
Well, yeah,
Property.
I don't think there's going to be any other street where the development like that's going to happen, particularly even the block going south, we have some setbacks. The buildings are set back from the sidewalk. I'm
Yeah,
not
and
sure
that-
what to do. That's why I'm bringing it up, because I just don't know.
Yeah, and
Lori,
that's-
you know what I'm talking about.
And is a preference. I mean, we've got our downtown commercial. A lot of the buildings are 0 setback.
My only concern would be what if they did widen the road and you say you had like a 20 feet rule and then they widen the road and now they're out of compliance because they had to cut that front yard.
Yes, but if they had their front yard previously, it's being inaugurated by the city, so I guess they can do it.
It's
Years
called legal
ago when-
non-conforming.
What?
It's called legal non-conforming because
Okay,
it existed
Okay.
before. Yeah.
And normally they would try to avoid building in our right of way in general, because if we want to widen that road, we will, because it's our right of way. So
And
that's probably the reason for that.
I don't know what the right of way is out there.
Off of Tehama.
No, Humboldt.
Sorry. We have really wide regular roads. So I can tell you it's probably a minimum of 80 feet. So 40 from each center line, maybe more in that area. Definitely not less.
Can we just put a question mark on that? So you could do some research, Amy?
Sure.
Okay. All right. On page 42, at the end of page 41 on 6, you have under plan development information. And I'm wondering, under a plan development district, if it should include a lighting and landscape act as part of the requirements. Because that saves the city money in terms of putting streetlights in.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a great suggestion, personally.
Okay. Yeah, that would come under the legal requirements for the common areas.
Mhm.
Do you guys understand a lighting and landscape act? Okay,
I do too.
so that can be added, I guess, under F.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
just trying to help our city.
Yeah. That's a great addition.
Well, if it's not written down, it's easy to forget. And a developer under a plan development could come in and say, well, you don't have that anywhere. And you have a commission wanting it, but you have no teeth. Okay. I don't have too many more. Page 51. Under the review authority, again, it under 5A, it just says the city manager, but it does later say, or his or her designee. And on 6A, it immediately says the city manager or his or her designee. So, but the one above it isn't immediately after the city manager.
I'd like to add to that too, on the removing the his, her on designee.
Bring that up.
Or designee.
Just say or designee.
Yeah,
That's what we did on the other
that's
one.
fine with me.
Got it.
Okay, under page 54, it is about mobile food businesses. Under F, it says a food facility inspection report from Glenn County Health Department shall be required. If I recall correctly from my time on the Glenn County Board of Supervisors, the health department requires the facility to post their health report. But we don't say and post it. I think we should. So it's in a visible location.
That's
Okay.
great. Yeah. That's easy.
We
Okay.
don't do that anywhere in Willows, do we?
What?
We don't do that anywhere in Willows, post it, do we?
They're supposed to post it in a visible location.
I mean, I've noticed it when I've traveled in
Yes.
businesses, but.
Usually it's
I've just
on
never
a
thought
front
about it.
window.
Uh-huh.
I'll give you a little history. At one time, we had no posting. And I was a supervisor and I said, we need a document to be posted. So they photocopied something. A couple years later, I came back and said, we need something that looks more professional. And so now they do look more professional. I wanted them to put grades on them, A, B, C, or
That's what
B.
we've seen.
But people were against me because they said, well, it will close down some restaurants. And my comment was, no, it'll make them more competitive. But just to have it on
That's a
the
sign.
front glass in a visible location, I'm happy with. Okay. Page 61. Yes.
So on page 54, the last item M, where we're talking about mobile food business, the middle of that paragraph, it says, if they operate for more than 3 days in any 7-day period, they'll be treated as a stationary mobile food vendor and shall comply with all applicable standards for stationary operations. I was just quickly scanning. Amy, do we have separate standards for stationary? Specifically where someone could go and look at that? Or do we go back and kind of infer that most of that is for stationary?
I
It
think
shouldn't
that the intent was further on, it starts talking about site improvements and parking review. So I think the intent was to, if they're going to be stationary, more levels of review would be required.
Yeah, I just know, particularly because the 3 that we have all been stationary. And I think it creates more issues than truly mobile units do, because then you've got restroom issues, water issues, all the aesthetics, accessory things. Anyway, and I apologize. I've been gone. I haven't had a chance to read this thoroughly, but I was just scanning it now. And when it talks about applicable standards for stationary, it might be a good idea that we have a section that specifically talks about stationary, since that seems to be our thing.
Yeah.
And then it's also those words again, shall be treated as a long-term and may be subject. So it's like they should be subject to,
Shall be.
yeah.
We're down to the next to the last. On page 61, item 5, a permit required. In the middle, it says at the discretion of the city manager or his, her designee. We need to strike his, her. And the same thing under 6.1, A, the next to the last line says a city manager or his, her designee.
Got it. Thank you.
I'm so sorry. Can I ask one more question on page 54?
54.
For the L, compact mobile food operations shall conduct only limited food preparation. Is there a definition of limited food preparation? Because what does that mean?
Good
Like
question.
not cooking raw meat or
Page
not?
54.
Yes, L.
L under,
Under which number? L.
L, yes, under the mobile.
Oh, compact mobile food operations shall conduct only limited food preparations. I don't know what a compact mobile food operation would be.
A mango cart.
Okay. Because I know they talk about carts and that type of thing in another location.
And maybe what we can do on that, Amy, too, and I don't know if we did, but there's strict state law on what that contains. So even if we just reference that for the food carts, they've got an AB or an SB, something in California that protects them differently than any sort of other mobile food vendors. And these would be the people that are rolling down the sidewalk continuously.
Mm-hmm.
And that limited food preparation for that piece may be in that state section.
Yeah, I think a compact, I think of a hot dog stand on 2 wheels.
It could be, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, we did 5, the city manager, and we're striking his, her. And the same thing on 6(1)(a). And then on 2, appeals. Appeals of the city manager's decision shall be to the planning commission. Now, what if a designee had made the decision that's being appealed? Should it say appeals of the city manager or designee's decision?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
it should say that. Yep.
Okay. Let's see, 61. On page 62, item number 3, I had, let me read it. If the building inspector finds that any sign regulated by this chapter is unsafe or insecure or is a menace to the public, he or she, I don't know if that should be changed, to building inspector, shall give written notice to the owner and to the property owner. If such sign owner fails to remove or alter the sign so as to comply with the standards set forth in this chapter within 30 days after such notice, the building inspector may cause such sign to be removed or altered at the expense of the sign owner or owner of the property upon which it is located. The building inspector may cause any sign which is in immediate peril to persons or property to be removed summarily and without notice. What is summarily? Immediately?
Yeah. I think immediately would probably be a better word to use there.
Do you see
Yes.
where I'm reading, Joe?
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, I saw it. And that's where I'm thinking, because the sign code is very calls out very specific things. To me, a violation of the sign code, I guess it's a public. It could fall under public nuisance or other things. I don't think it's bad to have it in here. But it may be better to reference how we deal with the public nuisance and reference that chapter than call out uniquely here. I don't know if there's conflict with it or not with the other things, but trying to eliminate the duplication of how we enforce things, that there may already be something in the building.
Well, I didn't know if there was better language that could be.
I agree that the language, yeah, should be immediately. I think we have some of this old language from the previous code, seeps through.
Yeah. We can update it to reference the violation
It
section.
basically becomes a code enforcement at that point. And so if we can eliminate the duplication of how, if we're not going to handle it any different, based on that, if it's basically saying if it's a safety violation, we're going to deal with it immediately. If not, we'll do it prescribed through our violations piece. So.
Okay, page 70. Under parking regulations. Number 2, 1A, one off-street parking space shall be required per dwelling unit. Amy, you and I had this conversation last week on an ADU, and I want to know if there is a home or and an ADU, does this apply?
Yes, so if there is a home and an ADU, they would still be required one off-street parking space. Per state law, the ADU is not required to have a parking.
Oh, it
space.
is not?
Correct.
Okay. So this is correct.
Yes.
Okay. All I needed to know. And on page 72, down toward the bottom, exception. Parking requirements for commercially zoned property with 50 feet or less street frontage may be reduced or waived by the city manager or designee. The designee is not in there. So should it be? That's
I think
all.
so.
Chair Corum, if you don't mind, can I go back to the parking spaces required with the dwellings real quick on page 70? I just want to make sure I understand it correctly.
Okay, yeah, that's why I brought it up because I wasn't sure if I understood it.
We're stating, so one family and two family dwellings, one off-street parking space shall be required per dwelling. Is the intent that if you've got two dwellings on a parcel, you only need one off-street parking space for each unit? Okay. All right.
Oh,
just
for
wanted to make
each
sure.
unit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would need two for that then. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Amy.
I personally love the fact we're not requiring garages any longer, but
I'm very unhappy about
I
that.
know you are. I did listen to your last meeting. So when it talks about just one off-street parking space for each dwelling unit, and I know it talks somewhere in here because I listened last meeting, there's a certain amount of driveway space. Might it be better or possible to require two? Because most driveways are designed for two cars to park next to each other. And I am mindful that there's a lack of parking on many streets. I'm also mindful that most people don't park in their garages. They put stuff in their garages.
Well, you know what? I kept reading and it talked about the front of the house cannot become a junkyard.
Correct. Right. But I'm just thinking most driveways currently, the current code required basically a two-car garage if you had a two-bedroom or larger house.
Yeah.
So you had a parking space for two cars. And I think with the front yard coverage and the requirements that there be a parking space, that if we only say one, then we're going to have a tendency with new homes. They might only put a one-car driveway in the front of a house. So if we
When Chip built the houses over off of Pacific,
Mhm.
they would not build two-car garages. They would only build one car. But when they developed Brennan and Joy, we were able to convince them to do two
to
cars.
do more. Yeah. I'm just thinking if you did, two off-street parking spaces per dwelling unit, that would just give you more off-street parking than just if you only required one.
Yeah.
If there's room in your
Amy,
front
it's
yard.
up. What do you think?
We can change it to that. There's also more language in there that talks about how that could be provided in the driveway.
I
But
wonder
there's
if you,
still room.
I wonder if maybe you would want to make an exception for maybe a multiple dwelling unit, like an apartment building. Maybe a single for that. I know you'll still have the same amount of people because it might be just space prohibitive for a building with many units,
Well,
There's-
go ahead.
There's different development standards for multifamily, and it's based off the number of bedrooms.
Yeah, that's true. Are you clear, Joe?
I'm clear. Thank you.
I guess we want to leave it at one off-street parking space per unit dwelling. Well, you can bring it up when you approve this.
Well, I'm fine with going to tonight.
I don't mind too, if we can
If
legally
the
do it.
majority- Yeah.
And that's what I was going to ask, Amy. Is the law,
Mhm.
are we capped at that? Do you know? Because another way, if desired, we could look at minimum width of what we consider a one-car driveway. That would be, because our development standards say if you're building a sidewalk, don't get in a driveway. So it would need to be addressed in the zoning code some way. But I don't know what the state language says. I feel like
Yeah.
I remember that we're kind of stuck with the language, but I don't know if there's wiggle room on what we consider parking spaces requirements. We can
Yeah.
easily figure
Yeah.
out that it
Yeah.
needs to be X amount of feet wide considered a one space, maybe.
Yeah, I can do more research on that.
Okay,
Make sure that we're compliant.
And then I was down on page 72 under exceptions. It said can be reduced or waived by the city manager. And my question was, should it say city manager or designee?
I think so.
Yep.
You
We'll
can
get that
update that.
changed throughout.
Because I was just in like in this and this location on the page and a previous one, if we didn't have a city manager, it's going to slow the process down. If we have designee, the city council would make that designation. So that's all I have.
Agree. And we will try to match that through.
Unless I read it again.
You can make public comment at the city council meeting when it comes.
Yeah.
So,
It's so much easier to read now,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and so then going through and everything that you pointed out, Keith, is like, oh yeah, how did I not see that?
Yep.
'Cause it's just so much easier.
It's flowing a
Thank
lot
you.
better. And yes, thank all you guys
Yeah.
and everybody else. And
I'm-
with, sorry, go ahead. Sure.
Keith,
Yes.
I'm curious what Lori thinks we missed going through this. No, but I'm curious, like when you're sitting here and you guys are getting ready to approve them, what do you instantly think? Oh, the planning commission missed this page or something. Would you be willing to share?
I request that we give Lori a microphone at the
Yeah.
chair.
Yeah, then she doesn't have to get up.
I just don't know if I'm a good one to ask that question because I come to all these meetings and I kind of sit here and part of it. But I do find like, you know, Keith's taken the time to look through it again.
Mhm.
I think almost every time we read through this,
You see
you
something?
can pick up something different than you did before. So that's where poor Amy, you know, every time we look at this, it's like, oh, we didn't think about that one. And I think as we fine tune it, and honestly, what I like the best about going through all this is how much more educated we're all getting about what's in our code. And I think it takes the time to be really thoughtful about what we want our town to look like, kind of thinking about what our issues have been, what are we seeing right now that we don't like, and what does our code say so that our staff have the ability to, you know, regulate it. I don't like to use terms like regulate and enforce, but, you know, keep our town looking the way that we want it to look. And if we don't have this as our tool, then we really can't do any of that. So I think we're going to continue to probably find little things as we go. So if I am up there reviewing it and I'm going to be on the committee to review the whole thing, I'll apologize now if I find something later that I
I
didn't
think
think
it's
about.
great. I think it's a work in progress.
I
Like
think
I
so,
think this
too.
is great, but I think when you have documents like this, you can change them.
Yeah. But I'm mostly really excited for all of you as planning commissioners having this deep dive into Title 18 because now projects are more meaningful. I think the input you're able to provide staff is more meaningful. When you have that project to look at ahead of time, you'll be like, oh, I remember there was something about this or that. And you'll just be more familiar with the code. And 18 is a big code and there's a lot in it. It's the biggest one there is. So I just appreciate all of you and your time to do the deep dive into this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any comments, Amy?
No, I have my list of marching orders.
All right, I appreciate you listening to me and my comments and being gracious about it. So let's see. Do we need to adopt this tonight or wait till the corrections
I would say that we adopt it tonight with the noted modifications made in the meeting.
with the corrections
With the,
made?
yep.
Yes, okay. That's kind of what I thought, but I wanted to be sure. So let's see. Somewhere there is a page that has the resolution. So it's attachment 1. And since there are 2 attachments, do we do each one individually or have them both included in one motion?
I think you can
One,
do one motion.
You should
Okay.
just one motion. Yeah.
Yep.
motion to adopt
Yeah.
the text resolution, read the resolution.
Okay.
recommending city council approve the ordinance and approve the amended Title 18 with the corrections that were noted. Something like that.
Because they're each going to be different resolutions.
It's
There's just one resolution.
Yeah, we
it's a public meeting, yeah.
yeah, we need, yeah. The public hearing needed to be open.
You want me to open a public hearing?
Please.
Okay, it is 7 o'clock and I open the public hearing on item, what is it?
Item is,
Six.
item- the
B.
item, excuse me, the item isn't agendized as a public hearing.
Is there anyone who wants to speak to the public hearing?
It was advertised as a public hearing.
Yeah, so Amy, the resolution says we held a public hearing, but it's not agendized as a public hearing tonight. So is it important that it was a public hearing tonight, or have we held sufficient other public hearings?
Oh, I see. Um, yeah, not on the agenda.
One sec.
While you're thinking, let me say
Yeah.
this.
Oh,
I would like to hold it off so that we can have the public hearing to be safe rather than sorry later, even though we've held numerous public hearings on this. It would delay it by 1 month unless we have a special meeting just for this item.
is it not on the agenda as item 6B? Under discussion and action calendar?
It
It
just says zoning ordinance update Title 18.
So it's not under the public hearing category. It was noticed in the paper as we needed to do, but it wasn't held as a public hearing. And I don't know if you know off the top of your head if it's a requirement for a public meeting for public input that is advertised, or if it's an actual public hearing that needs to be held. We did advertise it.
We advertised it and it is listed as a discussion and action item
It is.
on the agenda. I'd say that is all sufficient. In my opinion.
So do we go ahead and take a motion or wait till we have published a public hearing?
Yeah, I think it needs to be a public hearing. I mean, we did advertise it. It's not agendized as a public hearing.
So you want to wait till we advertise it as a public hearing, correct, Joe?
It was, yes.
It was advertised.
It was
but we didn't
advertised, but it
put
wasn't.
on the agenda.
It was advertised as a public hearing. It is not on the agenda as a public hearing. We did the notification as a public hearing, but for cleanliness, unless you know any different, Amy, I think that because it's a major update and a zoning amendment, that the planning commission is recommending to approval to the city council that it probably should be held as a public hearing.
Okay.
I mean, I'm asking for opinion. I see that regulatorily it should. In the 2 seconds I'm looking it up.
Yeah. I see
but I
both
might-
sides. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it was publicly noticed as required in the newspapers, correct?
Mhm.
And so on the agenda format, it's just as a consent item and not noticed as a public hearing. So the main question is that the problem? I mean, the public was let know. The agenda doesn't call it out the same way. Is it going to, when it goes to the city council, is it going to be as a public hearing?
Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, so we can always be criticized, right? It seems to have met the intent. It was in the newspaper as a public hearing. It was on the agenda that it was being discussed tonight. I wouldn't have picked up on it except for I was actually reading the resolution that said it was a public
Mhm.
hearing, or I wouldn't have noticed that. It would seem on the face of it that going forward with, obviously no one came tonight to give input. And if we're going to have a public hearing at the city council meeting, there would be additional time. So it seems like it might be okay to go forward unless there's some compelling reason staff's finding that we just need to.
I don't think so. I'm honestly in agreement with Amy that we could and wouldn't face any legal scrutiny whatsoever about how it was advertised and how we held it here tonight.
I have
Also
a
the-
question.
Yeah.
If any public community members did attend and had something to say, would it be considered? I mean, would we have listened to them and it would be on record? Even though the
Yes.
agenda was just out of
Well,
order?
yeah, I mean, people could have commented on it
Okay.
anyway, just
Then
like,
so it still would have played out that way.
Well, ultimately, the city council is going to be approving or not
Right.
approving it anyways.
We just want to
So
move
we can
it
move it
forward.
forward so that we
Yes.
can keep going.
right.
I agree.
Yeah.
Well, Lori, you're public
It was noticed as a public.
tonight. So you've made
think it's-
comments.
I think it's mostly what's the letter of the law state about what,
Right.
what needs to be done.
I think we're
Yeah.
fine. I think if it's the
think we're fine.
ordinance to adopt, that's when the real issue comes in. So as we
Okay.
do the first reading and second reading, that's when we has to be a public hearing. This is a resolution as a recommendation for the city council to adopt.
Right.
And so, yes, I think I clarified myself into
Just
Do-
put the final
Yeah.
vote.
Do I need to retract the opening of a public hearing? Or just close it?
let's retract it and say we never
Okay.
had one.
Let the record show that
Thank
we
you.
did not have a public hearing because it wasn't necessary tonight. And I retract announcing a public hearing. There is none. Okay, so now we're ready for resolutions.
And I would strike, Carlene, city clerk brought up a good point that also that the resolution be amended to reflect a public meeting and not a public hearing.
Okay, that's fine. I would say let the record reflect that we have had a public meeting and we have talked about these. So I will entertain, I want to do them separately just to make it clean, that we do attachment 1. So I need a motion for attachment 1.
For clarification, I think the approval of attachment 1 is, I'm reading this wrong, would be the resolution recommending the ordinance. So I think if we just
Yeah.
did the resolution would be
Correct.
fine here because the ordinance is listed as an example of,
Yes, the one is a resolution and the other is an ordinance.
correct. So
Yeah.
we're recommending the city, it's a resolution recommending the city council approve an ordinance.
Right. That's why I'm going to do them independently because they read differently. So a motion for the resolution, which is on attachment 1. Okay, I thought it was the actual ordinance. Okay,
We included the ordinance because the resolution references it, but the ordinance is just included
As a reference.
as
Okay.
a reference. Yep.
well, we still need a motion to adopt the resolution.
I move to adopt the resolution.
And a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, a motion has been made and a second to adopt the resolution of the Planning Commission to adopt the ordinance that would amend the zoning ordinance Title 18 of the city's municipal code. Any questions?
I'd like to say with the changes.
With the changes, yes. Do you agree with the changes?
I agree with the change.
Okay. Any questions? I'm afraid to ask that question. Comments? No, I appreciate all of your comments. I can easily get sidetracked and forget something. So all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay. I think we're through with that.
I do have a question.
Okay.
When do you need to get individual votes? And do you vote as a resolution? I was always taught. What is the difference?
Well, if it's an ordinance, you would do a roll call vote, or if it's something that's
Contentious, it could
contentious or
be requested, I think, at any
Mhm.
time.
At any time, you
Okay.
can.
Yeah.
it
But
can be
requirement would be
requested.
the ordinance and then as desired
Okay,
thereafter.
thank you. Thank
Good
you.
question. All right. The public hearing under item 7A has been canceled for this meeting. So we're down to 8 comments and reports, commission comments and reports. Anybody have a comment? Comment?
Well, I do have one.
Okay.
I just want to, oh, she's gone. I just wanted to thank Amy for
Yes.
everything.
Oh, I'm still here. Sorry.
She's
Thank
there, just
you.
not pictured.
Appreciate you. I'm sure we all do.
Yes.
Thank you.
Anybody else have a comment? Okay. Staff comments and reports.
Good evening again. I don't have too much information. We did a pretty good overview of things at the last meeting. Again, we'll be bringing back North Valley Indian Health for the design review and CUP for the parking piece of it. It's a very large behavioral health project near our downtown. So I look forward to presenting that. Other than that, I don't have any. Sorry, I'll go back. I do have one. So the cannabis signage was talked about and did not make it on this agenda. They decided to hold off and come back with their final sign design for their mounted sign. I don't know if I mentioned that last time. I do not know if we'll see that in the September meeting. It just depends on if they get us enough information or have that information available. I think that is all I have.
Okay. Well, thank all of you. I thank all of you for being here tonight and for all your comments and questions. There is nothing mundane about any of this, and I don't mind spending the time when we need to spend it and clarify lots of things. So I will say one more time. Any more questions? I adjourn. We are now adjourned.
Thank you, Carly.